Don't get me wrong, I don't hate this anime series. I can see why, at least in part, it's as popular and well regarded as it is. The side characters, they're wacky, unique, entertaining. The relationships are layered. Not everyone a person likes is going to like them back, and crushes, they do change over time. But I also think that it could and should have been much better. There is just a lot of untapped potential here. Potential that is squandered by Toradora's reliance on one very unfortunate cliché, insisting that our primary and often clashing lead characters eventually fall in love. Now, not only is this an overused trope, it also makes no sense here. To begin with, our leads Ryuuji and Taiga have nothing in common. Well, unless you call their crushes on other people and inability to express such crushes a commonality. But that's nonsense. There is a reason that Yuusaku's reputation goes through the roof after he publicly confesses his feelings for Sumire, the student council president, later in the series.
I'm in love with you!
It's because he's able to do something many others wish to do, but few ever have the courage to do. Secret crushes aren't uncommon. Opening oneself up to the possibility of rejection, that's the more unlikely of the two. Even their reputations as being dangerous isn't a commonality, because Ryuuji only looks like a bully, while Taiga actually is one. That's abundantly clear right from the start. In fact, upon their first meeting, Taiga punches Ryuuji in the face for basically no reason. Conventional wisdom may hold that opposites attract, but that's not quite true. Sure, people are sometimes drawn to those who have qualities they wish they emulated themselves, things they feel they lack. However, relationships are built on shared interests. Couples need to have things they enjoy doing together. They need to be able to relate. Ryuuji and Taiga may spend a fair amount of time in one another's company, but it's either spent trying to get one another to open up and talk about their crushes, or it's spent in a more paternal manner. Let's take a moment to address that second part, because it's something I find a bit peculiar. Ryuuji cooks for Taiga, he does her laundry, he cleans her apartment, he dresses up as Santa Claus to help preserve her childlike belief in the fairy tale figure. He basically takes on the role of Taiga's absentee parents.
Hey, if I'm gonna be doing your laundry, make sure you don't leave tissue in the pockets of your skirt like you did last time. Cleaning out the machine sucked. And while we're at it, one more thing. You gotta remember to separate the colors.
In what way does that make for an even-footed relationship? The dynamic is all wrong. It feels more like a crutch or a convenience than something romantically driven. Taiga wants someone to care for her, and Ryuuji wants someone to care for. But relationships should be uplifting. They should benefit all those involved. Otherwise, resentments are likely to boil over as time passes. So, in what way do either of these characters benefit one another? Ryuuji is directionless. Sure, he enjoys household work, and he's a decent student, but he doesn't actually know what he wants in life. He has no ambition. Taiga is even less driven, as she seems to enjoy nothing at all and doesn't even want to get a job once she's done with school. She wants to live off of her parents' allowance as long as possible. How is this relationship supposed to work in the long term? Even at the end of Season 1, which is unfortunately all we have to work with, the dynamic still feels like that of a parent and child. If the parents were overly indulgent and the child a spoiled confrontational brat. And don't think that Taiga is the only one failing to grow through this relationship. Ryuuji, in a lot of ways, is just as bad. He's overprotective, and he seems unable to accept help from anyone. We see this in the way he pampers his pet bird. We see it in how angry he gets when he realizes that his mother has taken on a second job. He hates the idea of inconveniencing or receiving aid from anyone, and thus it's very difficult for him to change, to grow, to become more than he currently is. How can a comfortable relationship like the one he has with Taiga, one that doesn't challenge him, be seen as anything but toxic? And all this was completely avoidable, because other much better options were readily available in the series. Ryuji's crush throughout most of Toradora is a girl named Minori, and it turns out she likes him back. Sure, Minori is quirky and upbeat, very unlike Ryuji himself, but they have actual interests in common. They enjoy cooking, they help and support those they care about, they compliment and appreciate one another, they have actual substantive conversations. Almost everything Ryuji does to better himself and put himself back out there is the result of his desire to connect with this girl, someone he greatly admires. Taiga's crush is on Yuusaku, and like in Ryuji's case, almost everything she does to step outside of her comfort zone is the result of her trying to get close to and impress him.
Whenever I was down, Kitamura was there to cheer me up and cheer me on. He always made me feel better. He always let me know that I was okay, and that I mattered.
She agrees to play the lead villain in a play because of Yuusaku's encouragement. She beats up the student council president, the girl Yuusaku confesses to earlier on, in order to get her to share her honest feelings about him. When Yuusaku isn't feeling quite himself, she joins him at a batting range to help cheer him up, and somehow manages to excel at it in spite of her lack of experience, because she sees how her successes, at least temporarily, banish his depression. She even runs for student council president herself, on the platform of turning everyone's life into a living hell, in order to get Yuusaku to snap out of his dejected state and run against her. Both Ryuuji and Taiga make attempts to connect with their peers, largely because of their crushes. They become slightly better and more well-adjusted people, and, in that same vein, Minori and Yuusaku become more well-rounded people themselves through their interactions with Ryuuji and Taiga. Minori starts to think about the world and her future more seriously. She slows down, instead of constantly trying to do everything at once, while Yuusaku, whose initial attraction to Taiga involves her straightforward personality and abrasiveness, becomes a bit more carefree himself. Perhaps a bit too carefree. Didn't really need to see this version of Santa.
Hey, watch it! Ew! I'm being harassed by a kinky Santa!
Hey, stop it! You're freaking everyone out!
Oh, Kihara, do you think I'm sexy?
Huh?
Yikes. You could make a case that both Minori and Yuusaku are too good for lead characters. They're more driven and goal-oriented. They likely have much brighter futures ahead of them, but they're also wacky and over the top, and often push themselves too hard. They could benefit from personality types that rein in their own, especially if those individuals are willing to support them in their goals. All my issues with this forced relationship are compounded in the second to last episode, while Minori's likability continues to increase. She tells Ryuuji and Taiga that she disapproves of their decision to flee, but lends them a substantial amount of money anyway so they don't starve. And then Ryuuji and Taiga run away. It's an absurd, ill-conceived solution to a very temporary problem. It's cowardice. It's proof that these two compound their character flaws instead of helping one another correct them. And don't think that my problems with their immature decisions are mitigated by the fact that they end up returning at the beginning of the final episode, because Taiga winds up leaving again anyway for reasons. Something about her realizing that she needs to work on herself, I guess. Didn't make all that much sense to me, especially given her behavior when she returns.
You know what? I love you. Now what?
What are you saying embarrassing stuff like that for?
Yep, she's totally grown as a character. I guess the show's creators couldn't help themselves. They wanted to mirror the way our two lead characters first meet with their final scene together. It's certainly a poetic parallel, even if it's kind of dumb and undermines the point of the episode. Not sure if you've guessed this yet, but I never understood why Ryuuji ends up falling for Taiga. She doesn't have much going for her, either in personality or ambition. She's just an angry, spiteful, violent child. Even when she opens up and starts acting kind during the Christmas holiday, her motivations seem mixed together with a childish desire to see Santa, to relive the memories of her past. Taiga clearly comes with a lot of psychological baggage. She grew up in a very negligent household. I don't doubt that her friendship with Ryuuji plays a big role in her recovery, and becomes increasingly important to her over time. But it's too difficult to separate out her need for a stable parental figure in her life from her romantic interest in him, if such things truly exist. It's a complicated and likely destructive path that both Ryuuji and Taiga would be best avoiding if they hope for long-term happiness. Anyway, thanks for watching, subscribe if you like, don't if you don't, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.